Something's brewing in Pittsburgh, and if you've been paying attention, you've probably noticed a pattern. Omar Khan, the Steelers' general manager, has been going all in. We're not talking about minor additions to fill holes. We're talking about headline names, guys that turn heads the moment they walk into the building. Moves that scream, we're serious about winning now. The buzz is real. The energy is shifting. But even with all these massive additions, one glaring problem continues to hold this team back. And it's a problem that's getting harder and harder to ignore. Let's start with the obvious. The Steelers brought in some real firepower. We're talking about players who bring pedigree, production, and presence. Guys like Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, Jonnu Smith. All game changers in their own right. And yet, in the middle of all this, there's one player who quietly continues to get overlooked despite doing everything right. That player is Jaylen Warren. Now, Jaylen might not have the flashiest name or the highest profile on this offense, but make no mistake, he's producing at a level that demands attention. The numbers from the win over the Patriots say it all. On paper, he had 18 carries for 47 yards. Not impressive, right? Pretty average, if not below. But here's where things get interesting. He had 56 yards after contact. Let that sink in. He finished with fewer total rushing yards than yards gained after defenders were already on him. That means almost every single yard he gained was through pure grit, balance, and determination because the blocking in front of him simply wasn't there. And this isn't a one-off. This has been a theme. Jaylen Warren is consistently getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. He's making something out of nothing over and over again, while the offensive line continues to struggle with basic assignments. And yet, despite this, he managed to force 9 missed tackles in that game, the most by any running back across the entire NFL in that week. Not just on the Steelers, not just in the AFC, in the whole league. That's impact. That's difference-making talent. That's what teams dream of in a modern back. But here we are, still treating him like a backup, like a change-of-pace guy. It's wild to think about how much potential is being wasted simply because the offensive line can't hold up long enough to give Warren any room to work. And while some blame can be spread around, the core issue is clear. This offensive line isn't getting it done. Whether it's because they can't execute Arthur Smith's wide zone scheme or just lack cohesion and physicality, the bottom line is they're letting the rest of the offense down, especially Warren. There's an easy fix. Not a perfect one, but one that could stabilize this group in the short term. His name is Darnell Washington. Yes, the tight end, or more accurately, the 6'7", 270-pound freak of nature who blocks like a seasoned defensive tackle. We've seen flashes of what he can do, and it's impressive. So why not just lean into it? Put him on the line. Make him an unofficial sixth lineman. You don't even have to take away his eligibility as a receiver. He can still go out on routes, still be a red zone threat. But right now, his blocking ability is more valuable than his receiving skills. Not because he can't catch, but because the offense desperately needs anyone, who can keep defenders out of the backfield. This isn't a plea for gimmicks or trick plays. This is about survival. It's about giving your best playmakers a chance to do their job. Aaron Rodgers is under pressure far too often. The wide receivers aren't getting the time to complete their routes. The run game is being smothered before it even starts. And that's where a guy like Darnell Washington can change the dynamic. Not by being flashy, but by being a wall. The frustration here isn't just about missed blocks. It's about misused resources. The Steelers have invested heavily in this offensive line. We're talking high draft picks, including trading up to get Broderick Jones, who was supposed to be the anchor on that left side. And yet, here we are, with the same problems week after week. Missed assignments, poor communication, lack of punch off the snap. It's not good enough. Not for a team that claims to be contending. Now, to be fair, offensive lines take time to gel. That's the optimistic take, at least. And it's true that young players often struggle early in their careers before turning into reliable starters. But patience has limits, especially when you're watching a player like Jaylen Warren get stuffed at the line of scrimmage play after play, only to fight his way forward through sheer will. He's doing everything he possibly can. He just needs a little help. And that's what's so maddening. You've got the tools. You've got unique blocking talent in Darnell Washington. You got a workhorse back who's breaking tackles at an elite rate. You've got a quarterback who can still make magic if he gets just a sliver of protection. But the puzzle pieces aren't being put together properly. It's like building a race car and forgetting to tighten the wheels. This offense should be more than functional. It should be explosive, but it can't get off the ground because the foundation is cracked. And no matter how many stars you bring in, if the blocking isn't there, none of it matters. DK Metcalf can't outrun a defense if Rodgers doesn't have time to throw. Jonnu Smith can't stretch the field if he's staying in to block every other play. And Jaylen Warren, the most consistent, productive piece you've got right now, is stuck dodging defenders before he even crosses the line of scrimmage. At some point, the coaching staff has to stop being proud and start being practical. This isn't about proving a point. This is about winning football games. So if that means using a tight end as an extra lineman, so be it. If it means bruising a few egos to get better protection, do it. Because right now, you're wasting talent. You're holding back a player who's showing every sign of being a legitimate star at his position. Jaylen Warren isn't just a backup anymore. He's the heartbeat of this offense. The numbers prove it. The eye test proves it. The only thing left is for the coaches to realize it too. But let's dive a little deeper into why this is happening. Not just with Jaylen Warren, but with the offensive line as a whole. The issue doesn't start on Sundays. It starts with how the roster is built, how playing time is distributed, and how priorities are set behind the scenes. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. The Steelers are stuck in a tug-of-war between long-term investment and short-term results, and right now, they're leaning way too hard toward protecting the investment. Take Broderick Jones, for example. The front office didn't just draft him. They traded up to get him in the first round. That's a loud message that says, this guy is our future, and we're betting big on him. And when teams do that, they don't just want to see that player succeed. They need him to succeed, not just for the sake of wins, but to justify the decision itself. It becomes personal. It becomes emotional. So even if things aren't going well, even if he's not quite where he needs to be, the leash is longer. Much longer. And that's a problem, because while the Steelers are focused on making sure their first-round pick lives up to the billing, the rest of the offense is suffering. And it's not just Jones. You've also got guys like Troy Fautanu, Zach Frazier, and Mason McCormick, all recent draft picks who have been touted as part of this offensive line rebuild. Again, all of them were taken with purpose. All of them are seen as key pieces to the puzzle. But that puzzle's still scattered across the floor, and instead of mixing in veteran depth or exploring outside help, the team keeps doubling down on development. That's fine in theory. But when the season is underway and you're in the middle of a playoff push, the learning curve can't come at the expense of your best offensive weapons. The truth is, NFL teams, no matter how tough they talk, don't always make decisions based purely on performance. There's ego involved. There's reputation. There's the optics of admitting that a high draft pick might not be ready. Executives, coaches, they've spent countless hours scouting, interviewing, traveling, eating dinner with these players' families, doing everything possible to convince themselves and others that the guy they picked is the right one. And when the lights come on and that player struggles, it's not just a missed block. It's a hit to the system. That's why it's so rare to see teams bench or replace a top pick quickly. They'll ride it out, even when it's costing them games. Because to them, pulling the plug feels like admitting failure. And in the NFL, that kind of admission doesn't come easy. But here's the problem with that mindset. Football isn't sentimental. It's a results-driven business. Every week matters. Every rep matters. And the longer you wait to fix something, the harder it is to catch up. That's what makes the situation with Darnell Washington so frustrating. He's right there. He's already proven he can hold his own against edge rushers, that he can add value in the trenches. And yet, he's not being used in that role consistently. Why? Because it would mean adjusting the offensive structure in a way that maybe doesn't align with the original plan. Maybe it would mean admitting that the line isn't as far along as hoped. But again, who cares? Adjust the plan. Change the approach. Do what needs to be done to get the most out of this roster. Because right now, the offense is leaving points on the field every single week. And no one is feeling that more than Jaylen Warren. The guy is running into brick walls and still finding ways to drag defenders forward. That 56 yards after contact wasn't just about broken tackles. It was about effort, relentless effort. He's taking hits in the backfield and turning them into 3-yard gains. He's spinning out of sure losses and making something positive out of it. That's not normal. That's not something you coach. That's raw ability, instincts, toughness, all the traits that separate good running backs from special ones. When you see a player doing that much heavy lifting, it becomes your responsibility as a coaching staff to make life easier for him. You owe him that. You owe the offense that. Because if he can do this much with this little help, imagine what he could do with even average blocking. Not elite, not top tier, just average. That's the most frustrating part. The bar isn't that high. No one's asking for a line that dominates every snap. Just one that holds long enough for the play to develop. Just one that gives Warren even half a second more to hit the hole. Just one that lets Rodgers stand tall long enough to make a read. And it's not like this is a one-dimensional back who needs perfect conditions to succeed. Jaylen Warren creates his own space. He forces missed tackles. He has balance, burst, and vision. He's not afraid of contact. He lowers his shoulder, protects the football, and keeps his legs moving. He is in every way a modern running back. He just doesn't have a support around him right now to showcase that over 4 quarters. And when you waste a player like that, when you keep forcing him to run in a loaded boxes behind shaky line, you're not just slowing down your offense. You're stalling your entire identity. Because here's what people forget. Great running backs change the tone of a game. They were down defenses. They keep your offense ahead of the sticks. They take pressure off the quarterback. They control the clock. They tilt the field. Warren has that potential. He's showing flashes of it every week. He's doing everything you could ask of him. But without Real blocking help, he's going to keep getting buried under defenders before he even reaches the line. That's why this goes beyond numbers. It's not just about yards per carry or fantasy stats. It's about a player who deserves better. A player who is performing like a starter, like a difference maker, and being treated like a role player. And that disconnect is on the coaches. It's on the system. And it's on the decisions being made about how to deploy talent. So the question now becomes, how long can the Steelers afford to wait? How many more games will they let this go on before making real changes up front? Because the schedule isn't going to get easier. Defenses are going to keep coming. They're going to stack the box. They're going to force the Steelers to prove they can win at the line of scrimmage. And right now, they can't. And maybe that's where the frustration really boils over. Because this team should be better. They have talent. They have depth. They have options. But instead of adapting, instead of retooling in real time, they're clinging to hope. Hoping the young linemen develop fast enough. Hoping the scheme starts to click. Hoping that grit and determination will cover the gaps. But hope doesn't win games. Execution does. And right now, the execution just isn't there. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers around the league are growing louder. The Pittsburgh Steelers may have just made a move that could redefine their offensive front. Sources close to the team are hinting at the acquisition of Tevin Jenkins, a powerhouse on the offensive line known for turning chaos into order and keeping quarterbacks blissfully untouched. While nothing is official yet, insiders suggest that the Steelers see Jenkins not just as a player, but as a cornerstone of their protection scheme. Jenkins, whose reputation precedes him, has been described by scouts as a wall with wheels, a rare combination of brute strength and surprising agility. His presence in the trenches could give the Steelers' QB room to breathe like never before, opening up passing lanes that have long been clogged by relentless defensive pressure. Team staffers, speaking under anonymity, have gone so far as to call him a human fortress, capable of neutralizing even the league's most fearsome pass rushers. The rumor mill is buzzing with speculation about how Jenkins would fit into Pittsburgh's system. Some analysts are already drawing comparisons to past offensive line legends, suggesting that his impact could ripple through the entire offense. Imagine a quarterback who can step back confidently, knowing the pocket won't collapse. That vision alone has fans and commentators alike whispering about a potential renaissance in the Steelers' offensive production. Of course, as with all whispers, skepticism remains. Jenkins has shown flashes of dominance in college and early professional snaps, but transitioning to the Steelers' style of play is a challenge no one underestimates. Still, if the signs are accurate, this could mark a turning point in the Steelers' strategy, an investment in protection that signals a commitment not just to the quarterback, but to an era of calculated, disciplined offense. While nothing has been formally confirmed, the buzz surrounding Tevin Jenkins' potential arrival in Pittsburgh is impossible to ignore. For fans who have long dreamt of a pocket that feels invincible, the rumor alone is enough to stir excitement, debate, and late-night speculation. Could this be the move that finally gives the Steelers QB the shield he deserves? Only time will tell, but for now, the chatter is deafening, and the hope is palpable. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.